Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about Styxenhammer 666 and why his opinion on the whole Nashville thing really doesn't matter. So basically, obviously, he's a much bigger YouTuber than I am. Big thing is, though, I know he put out a video yesterday talking about what happened there in Nashville. And as far as I'm aware, Styx lives in another country right now. He doesn't even have American voting rights at this point. So his opinion really doesn't matter on this kind of shit because he doesn't have the right to actually vote in this country any longer. And he can't actually make any change in this nation. So to sit there and bitch and moan about, like, Americans and like the right wing and stuff like that being like, "Oh, you're as bad as the left wing for calling the shit out for what it is," or talking about it possibly being related to the actual, bill that was passed there in Tennessee with the whole like banning of transgender surgeries for minors and stuff like that. Yeah, you can go fuck yourself, Stick. Seriously, man. Um, the real issue with these people in general is it's like, you know, the reason I'm specifically calling out Sticks on that situation like that, dude, is because this is the kind of guy who, by the way, self-admitted to being an ex-Satanist and has done satanic shit in his life. And it's like, bro, you're just a fucking clown. Like, you want to act like you're libertarian, but that doesn't do anything, dude. And that's the truth of the matter at the end of the day, like, as much as I hate the two-party system that exists right now in this country's history, until we actually run for office ourselves underneath that two-party system and then change the shit after the fact when we get into office and stuff, nothing's ever going to change. It's why I'm running for office right now, honestly. And I'm going to run as Republican, is what it is, dude, because in the state of Ohio, if you're not running as Republican in certain areas, you're not going to win. Same thing with running as a Democrat in certain areas. If you don't run as a Democrat, you can't win, is what it is. So, anyway, but yeah, I just got off the back chat with Honda and all those guys from last night. We had a almost 3 hour chat there. It was about 2.5-ish hours, give or take. With the first 45 minutes being here on YouTube and the other like almost 2 hours being on Rumble there, which was really nice actually because we're finally able to talk about stuff we can't talk about here on YouTube. And yeah, did a bunch of good stuff over there, and discussed the notice of pattern stuff on Twitter, which again you can't really talk about that here on YouTube, but I'm not going to mention much of any of it. You just go to Jeff Younger's. I'll tell you this: go to Jeff Younger's YouTube account, dude, or not YouTube. Go to Jeff Younger's Twitter account, and you can see pretty much everything I'm talking about with the notice of pattern stuff because that guy posted all the time is what it is, and yeah, there's a pattern going on in this country, and Honda rightfully went off on um, did a whole tirade about some stuff there, and I joined in on it because, almost a year later after what happened to me, I'm still pissed off at this point, as I should be at this point. There was a time where, things went down. I said what I said. I will never be ever silenced again over my belief system in this country, dude. Period. The fact that I told the fucking truth of what this country was, what this country had going on in it, dude, how this country was founded, etc. And people want to take that shit out of context, they can go fuck themselves, is what it is, dude. And that's exactly what it is at the end of the day. Anybody that was involved in that situation almost a year ago, they can go fuck themselves, dude, for real. Because there was no need for it, dude. There was no need to fucking try to slander me, try to defame me and stuff like that over that shit. Especially when apparently they all missed the fucking mark of what the actual video was about that day, what the actual stream was about that day, which was obviously the fact that I was talking about why I wouldn't date leftist women in this country. And that's true to this day, by the way. I still won't date leftist chicks, is what it is, dude, because again, they're the ones that are the most psychotic in this entire United States of America currently, dude. And any country, honestly, for the most part, it seems like. Doesn't matter if it's European country or some fucking Middle Eastern country they might be in and stuff like that. They're always going to be the most fucking psychotic, is what it is, dude. I mean, hell, just look at the whole thing in Tennessee there, dude. You had this fucking person that was born female, went all fucking, you know, crazy, wanted to sit there and call themselves a trans man, and then went and did this fucking massacre and stuff like that, and murdered a bunch of innocent children is what it was, dude. Bunch of innocent children and some adults is what it was. Whereas if any of those adults had been armed, they could have saved those kids. And that's the worst part of it, like we talk about that stuff, and people talk about sending their kids to a private school or homeschooling, whatever the case be. And the thing is, even with a private school, like as far as I'm aware, that Christian Academy, that Covenant place, was an actual private school, dude. But yeah, they didn't have a school resource officer on staff that could have stopped this piece of shit in their tracks. And yeah, it's just a sad situation, dude. And then finally, it took 15 minutes for the Metro PD to get down there, and those two guys that are very much heroes at this point took out the fucking threat, dude. They ended the fucking threat. I don't know anymore. I know there's supposed to be some crazy shit going on this weekend. Potentially, the left keeps calling for this day of violence. Basically, is what it is. It needs to be shut the fuck down, dude. Period. It's time to start charging Antifa and stuff like that with terrorism, dude. And I've already called out the state lawmakers here in Ohio all over Twitter and stuff like that, dude. I keep calling them out on the Patriot Education Network channel and stuff. And I told them straight up, I'm like, declare Antifa a terrorist organization in the state of Ohio already, dude. Do what needs to be done. And none of them have gotten back to me at all. None of the accounts have gotten back to me at all. So I may just start finally tagging individual state reps and state senators at this point, and then calling them up in the mornings and stuff like that, or whenever I get a chance to. It'll be then tomorrow or Thursday or whenever. And being like, hey, do your job and start reducing legislation to declare these fuckers a terrorist organization. They are is what it is, dude. And this shit, the rate needs to be fucking ended, dude. Start treating these pieces of shit the way you need to start be treating at this point. Because that's true at the end of the day, man. You have people, you can look back, and like I was saying all over Rumble tonight, you can look back at the Dayton Massacre for that matter, and the piece of shit who did that almost 4 years ago now, that son of a bitch had ties to Antifa and BLM both, dude. And yet nobody fucking correlates that shit, dude. Nobody apparently gives a fuck enough to actually do the correlation between those things. Of, hey, you have this obviously, Soros-backed money going into backing this terrorist organization and making it an actual terrorist organization is what it is, dude. And giving them the financial means to go do, organized shit is what it is. And yet their supporters and stuff like that, and their membership and stuff like that, is going out there committing terrorism all the time, and yet they're not being declared a terrorist organization. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? It's just insane. It's insane to me. So, I don't know, man. Just fucking sad. And then you had the fucking parents of the piece of shit there in Tennessee try to claim that they didn't know their child had fucking guns still, and I'm just like, sure you did. Sure you didn't. Meanwhile, the mother was a fucking anti-gunner, and, didn't hear anything about dad, honestly, at all in that situation. And it's just like, ridiculous, dude, is what it really is. Just absolute insanity is what it ends up coming down to being. So I don't know anymore. I just think I really feel like we're having bad times, honestly, ahead. And from what I was listening to last night with some of the guys, and specifically I think it was Duke that said it, he thinks that we got about a couple days to a couple weeks left to go before a total collapse in this country. I don't think it's quite that quick, honestly. I mean, I know things accelerate very quickly, in a vacuum and shit, but like, I still think we have a few months anyway, especially here on the East Coast area and stuff like that. Well, I wouldn't say East Coast, I'd say Eastern states is what it is then, like East Coast, and then obviously like the, like middle of the road, Rust Belt and stuff like that, where we're at here in Ohio and everything like that. Because it's not going to be until sometime probably in the summer or so is when you would actually start seeing like potential food gangs and shit like that if stuff starts going that bad is what it is, where you have like hyperinflation and whatnot, and you'd have people start stealing things, and you have like other, if people actually are buying things or whatever, then you'd have like people going out there and doing like food gang robberies where they just jump out of a van or whatever in front of the store and grab a bunch of stuff and haul off with it, is what it would be then. I don't see that happening for at least a few months anyway, and by then that's when you would and this is the thing, if it goes down to that point though, that's when we're fucked as a country, dude. That's when things are going to get real bad. And the only good thing that comes out of this though is all these people that are doing all this crazy shit right now, dude, like that motherfucker in Nashville, like all these motherfuckers like that, all these leftist fucking, old school SJWs and social justice warrior types and stuff like that, they have no skill sets to survive, dude. They're not going to survive any kind of collapse. And if they do, they're going to survive for maybe a day or two at most before they eventually get, dealt with by whoever else is left at that point then. And I'll leave it at that, really, because that's how I, you know. I'm going to say it. I'm not going to go into full detail or anything else like that. But yeah, they're basically going to go what's coming to them is what it is, dude. From, you know, most people in major cities will be actually, dude, because that's where most people live at, as major cities and stuff. So it'll be the other people in major cities basically just having enough of their asses is what it is. And, you know, again, dealing with them accordingly then. So, but yeah, other than that, that's, you know, pretty much where we're at right now. You know, we still don't know a motive for the whole thing. I know there's been talk of a manifesto that this person had in Nashville. That still hasn't been released. You got state lawmakers in Tennessee calling for that. I think you have a couple of federal lawmakers calling for that. And yet they still won't release the manifesto. And it's like, why won't you release the manifesto? Is it maybe because it actually talks about all kinds of crazy shit in there that would make this a fucking hate crime against Christians and stuff? Perhaps. Yes, probably it would, I'm guessing. And when you got that douchebag Merrick Garland talking about, like, oh, well, we need to know the motive because then we can actually see if it's a hate crime or not. It's clearly a fucking hate crime, dude. You have a person who claimed to be transgender going and killing a bunch of innocent fucking kids in a Christian school. It's obviously a hate crime against Christianity at this point, dude. Treat it as fucking such at this point. If nothing else, start charging the fuckers who are actually emboldened enough to basically be like, oh, this person was in the right, which is what they're saying. A lot of these people aren't left anymore. And basically giving them credence and shit like that. And it's like, no, charge these fuckers as accessories, dude. Charge all these fuckers in the mainstream media as accessories as well on that one, dude. For sitting there and giving this asshole credit and credence and stuff like that. So that another one of these massacres happens in the next, 4, 5, 10 days, whatever it's going to be now. Because it's inevitably going to happen again, dude. That's a big thing, right? Like, every time the mainstream media fucking jerks themselves off over this kind of shit and, 24-hour news cycle coverage of this crap, all it does is keep feeding the fucking beast to make another one of these happen. That's why you always see them in threes, by the way. So, I'm not sure if this, and actually, if that be the case, I'm not sure if this is the second or the first one. So there's either one or two more that would happen then, potentially. And that's the scary fact right now, dude. And honestly, like, this is one thing what I'm saying right now, and I'm gonna say this right now, honestly, man. If I had kids in the school system, I'd be taking them out of the school systems right now for the foreseeable future and be like, sorry, I don't care if you're trying to, say these kids are not gonna be in the school or whatever, you're gonna try to hit me with like truancy laws and shit like that. Go fuck yourself. No, I'm gonna yank these kids out and we're gonna go fucking up to the mountains and have a hike for a while or something like that, dude, and actually have a nice little camp out or something like that in some national park for a little bit or whatever time. And we'll teach these kids some shit in nature is what it'll be then. Because honestly, that's where the bunch of these kids need to be right now, dude. They need to be away from these school systems and not be able to be targets then. So, if anything, what they should do, it should actually do two things. It should bring the thing of resource officers needed in schools, and it should also bring up the thing of potential armed staff in schools. Whether it be teachers or actual custodians or whatever the case be, or principals or vice principals or, some secretary or something, or who the fuck ever else, dude, a gym coach, whatever it be. It doesn't matter, honestly. If you want to be armed in these schools and you want to take those steps to be able to arm yourself and, have like just what Ohio has here and stuff like that with our, you know, armed teachers and stuff like that, programming and whatnot that we've passed in the last year or so, do it like that's what it is, dude. Allow these people to choose if they want to be armed or not, then. Because I guarantee at least one or two will step up in every single one of these schools, no matter what, dude. Because they want to protect the kids. They want to make sure that the kids are safe from an active threat like that. And it's sad that we have to live in this kind of world now. Because again, you let fucking psychos that shouldn't even have firearms, is what it is, dude. And in that case, that person that did this attack in Nashville should have been a perfect person, period, in the story. They should have never had firearms in this country, dude. And like I said, when you have the fucking parents of them being like, we didn't even know they had guns still. Why the fuck would, like, and this is the thing I think is fucked up, right? So I was watching the news last night and they were talking about it, and they were saying how this individual was under psychological care right now. So how are you not a prohibited person at that point, dude? It's just insane to me. And it's not that we need red flag laws at all, dude, for that matter. That's the last thing we need in this country. That strip away all kinds of other rights. What we need is like Baker Act shit to be enacted is what it is properly. Put these people in the nut houses where they fucking belong, dude. Make sure they don't have access to things that could either harm themselves or others for that matter. Get them the psychological help they need in a fucking mental institution is what it is. Bring back state hospitals. Bring back actual fucking mental health care in this country. Deal with this shit accordingly. Stop fucking pushing transgender shit at small children is what it is, dude, and expect them not to be all fucked up when they're in their adulthood then. So, you know, that's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. And I think that's pretty much going to be, unless there's something like major that comes out about this whole thing, I think this is going to be the last time we're going to talk about this whole topic on this channel for the time being, anyway. Um, there's supposed to be something this weekend up in Cleveland. I know that that church that's supposed to be hosting that drag show up there apparently supposedly had like a Molotov toss at it now. I guarantee that shit's fucking hate hoax again, by the way. And it's just ridiculous, dude. And honestly, like when you look at most of it, it's all mainstream media dividing people at this point, dude. It's a divide and conquer strategy that keeps on working, dude. And it basically goes back, when you look back at the playbooks and stuff like that, it goes back to the rules for radical shit, where it's nothing more than how do you destabilize a nation? You make it about race, you make it about equity, you make it about all that other kinds of bullshit, dude. And you start dividing that stuff based on everything like that. Oh, you're super poor. Oh, you're a minority. Oh, you're oppressed. It's like bang, bang, boom. Now you're a victimhood, no matter what. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. And then you keep feeding that mentality to people for, generation after generation, spoon feeding that shit to them is what it is. And they're going to keep believing that shit, dude. And that's why we keep being racially divided so fucking hard in this country. And I'm sick and tired of it, man. And I think everybody else is too. I know that's why Honda went off on Rumble actually tonight. Because he's been fucking sick and tired of it for a while, dude. And I think we all are, honestly. Because it's like, when is enough enough, Like, when are we just going to say enough and be like, fuck off? Media, fuck off. Hollywood. With all your fucking race baiting bullshit and everything else like that. So, anyway. Like I said, I feel like I'm mentally exhausted anymore with this shit, dude. Like, the last couple of days, I haven't been feeling the greatest, physically, at all. I think it's because the weather changes and stuff, but like, just mentally, it's like this thing where I was like, okay, over the weekend and shit. And then like this fucking happens Monday morning and stuff. And I'm just like, ever since then, I've been all over Twitter, calling people out, calling out a bunch of leftists and stuff like that. And I'm just mentally exhausted now, dude. I just feel like going to sleep for like a day or two, honestly, and just fucking, you know, drowning out the world, I guess is what I'd say on that one. Where it's just like, I don't care what's happening in the world at this point. I'm done. I'm just going to take a fucking, do what needs to be done then. Is that the case? Unfortunately, you can't do that anymore. It seems like even if you try to, it's like, your mind is still going and you're like, oh, I wonder what's happening with that now. I wonder what's happening now and stuff like that. Or it's you just try to hang out, fucking cabin in the woods kind of thing or whatever the case be. And it's just like, God forbid you have to go to a general store to get something. And all of a sudden you see a paper and it's like, oh, another massacre happens now. And it's like, God damn it, dude. Like, enough. So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit all the way around, man. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of it's happening from the government at this point. So, until we just stop them from fucking, creating these things and stop the media from creating them by fucking, telling them to fuck off with freedom of the press anymore because they're not press anymore and just suing their asses into the ground over that for literally being complacent in these fucking tragedies and stuff like that. Nothing's ever going to change, is what it is. So, I don't know. I believe there are solutions that can be implemented right now, but unfortunately, when you don't have power to do so, nothing's ever going to change, is what it is, dude. So, until we as a society, we good people in this country get power, take down seats of power, whatever the case be, flip the script. I don't care what it is anymore. Nothing's ever going to change, what it is, man. And I think it's why we're inevitably heading for a civil war in this country, honestly, dude. I think it's only a matter of time before something kicks off. Who's to say how it's going to start? Honestly, I had no clue. Like that's the one thing, right? Like I always talk about X factors and shit in a lot of these grandstands. I never fucking thought that an X factor was going to be trans stuff, dude. I never fucking thought that. And the fact that we're seeing that now, it scares the shit out of me, honestly, because it makes me think like, okay, what other X factors have I kind of been, halfway seeing, but not really paying attention to is what it is. So I don't know. Maybe that's going to be one of the featured grandstands or something like that. Is me just talking about like potential X factors for lead up to a potential civil war in this country, honestly, because I feel like something's definitely going to happen soon, and I'm not sure exactly when that soon would be. Like I said, it could be a couple weeks from now, it could be a month from now, it could be 6 months from now, it could be a year or two from now. I think it's definitely going to happen in the next couple of years, though. That's the big thing. I think we're definitely on the collision course right now to where you're going to see something pop off probably around the time of the 2024 election cycle. Because especially with Soros funding and stuff like that, going back to that whole thing, you'll see that quite a bit when it seems to be every election cycle, whether it be midterm elections or presidential elections specifically. You will always see some kind of violent stuff happen there. I mean, hell, you look back at 2020 with the whole George Floyd thing, dude. And you look back at, I think it was like 2018, 2016, something like that, is when that Castile guy was killed in his car and stuff like that. It's like shit like that. It happens every 2 to 4 years, is what it is, dude. And again, it's media trying to make it about racial division stuff, is what it is, dude. When half the time it's not even racial shit. It's you have just shitty police in this country, dude. You have shitty policing in this country. You need a complete overhaul of certain systems in this nation, whether it be police reform or whether it be prison reform or whether it be a bunch of stuff like that. And the issue becomes that when you're not addressing the root causes of stuff, which in most cases are fatherless homes, by the way, nothing ever fucking changes. And it's as simple as that, really. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back at some point in the next, like I said, probably a day or two. Maybe I'm debating. I might decide to just take the day or two off now, dude, and maybe be back like Friday, Saturday, something like that. But yeah, I'll be back at some point. I kind of want to do something else, honestly. Maybe this coming Friday. Maybe start talking about fishing stuff for like a stream or something. Just get away from the political bullshit for a little bit. Just kind of, you know, clear my mind, I guess is what I'd say best. And go from there, essentially, is what it would be then. And, if nothing else, maybe we'll do a gaming chat or something here in the next day or two as well. So, talk about season 4 stuff coming up here now. We just started up on, obviously, season 4 of the Walking Dead Survivors game. And, yeah, I think it's like Saturday or something is when we're starting to do our first takedowns of different community things and whatnot. So that should be fun. Finally get a bunch of cool shit there, hopefully. And yeah, other than that, that's pretty much where we're at right now. You have a lot of interesting things happening right now when it comes to different stuff. And yeah, it's a distraction away from reality, but unfortunately, sometimes you just need that distraction, because if you don't, you'll just go insane, really, is what it is, dude. And that's the last thing we need to be right now. When you get in your own head too much, you definitely don't want to be there. I don't care who you are, man. And unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of people end up when they have, nothing left to lose kind of shit is what it is. Or they think they have nothing left to lose kind of thing is what it is. And I believe that's the only thing. That's the only thing stopping a lot of people right now from kicking something off is we still have food that we can buy. We still have water we can buy. We still have, you know, phones working and internet working and cable working and, 500 channels this and streaming services that and all stuff like that is what it is, dude. And when you can distract people long enough with the bread and circus shit, nothing really ever changes. And I think it's going to be, unfortunately for some people, too late when it finally does. Whereas where we're at right now, I think after what happened in 2020, there's a lot of people who are very much just ready for something. And, I don't know what that something's going to be, honestly. I would like to say it's nothing. I would like to say we could just go back to normal, would be, man. But unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. I think we're going to have to see some serious drastic change in this country and maybe go back to the founding principles of it once and for all for things to really change. And that's going to take a lot of stuff to happen, honestly, dude. I'm not going to get into detail about that. just because, the federal swatting thing again. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. And like I said, I don't know if what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be a civil war. It's gonna be a fucking revolution. It was gonna be World War III for God's sakes. Who the fuck knows anymore? But I think we're definitely heading towards something. Economic depression, Great Depression 2.0. Who the fuck knows? I just don't think it's gonna be good unless you're some rich elitist piece of shit out there, man. Unless you're some globalist scumbag out there and on the earth and stuff like that. That's, basically being the person clicking the chess pieces around and shit like that. You'll do well, obviously. The rest of us are going to be fucked, is what it is, dude. So, other than that, that's where we're at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all in the next one.